Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining our podcast, Moms on the Move. I'm Jen Wells.
And I'm Jennifer Sisk.
Today we have special guest Adrienne Carci.
Carci, yeah.
Yes. So you are a meditation and mindfulness instructor.
I am. Yep. And conscious parenting guide.
Conscious parenting. So we're getting all the self-help this year.
Absolutely.
We need it.
Start
we do.
off right. We all do.
We all need it.
We all do.
I'm sitting in like the middle of two very smart women, at least with the mind, right?
Yep.
I'm certainly
I think we're all brilliant.
Yes, all brilliant in every way.
Yeah.
So what exactly do you do?
I teach people in both unconventional and traditional ways, just kind of how to slow down and realize, like we were just talking about before we started recording, realize what we're doing in everyday life instead of just kind of reflexively floating through the way we've kind of been conditioned to do.
Going through the motions.
Absolutely. So I use
like
things
high speed.
Like puppets on a string.
Yeah.
We just barrel through.
Absolutely.
Like it kind of reminds me back when like the whole 15 days to flatten the curves happened. Mm-hmm. Remember there was a brief period of time when people were like, wow, this is so interesting. We're not running back and forth to practice and school and pick up and this activity and this activity. And I feel like parents for 2 seconds kind of took a breath. Mm-hmm. Even though it was an unknown feeling, parents were able to take a breath for a second.
Slow down.
And slow down.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously now it's 2 years later. But all that being said, I feel like people are getting back into the routine of the crazy, going through the motions again. I mean, we're guilty of it. We have 3 little kids and we're constantly running and running and running and running and this practice and this practice. And, I mean, it's hard to slow.
Well, you're almost forced to go quickly. You have to be mindful and aware because you're forced to get back into it with our phones, with their schedules, with kids and everything.
Well, and there's a lot of pressure as parents to do the extracurriculars. Mm-hmm. We just signed up our 2 boys because we needed more to do for karate. Mm. So that was unnecessary, but they love it. And it's just, kind of one more thing that it feels like. Mm. But I'm like, oh, it's going to help them. And, parents constantly are dealing with that guilt of, should we have them relax at home or should we have them in karate where they're going to focus on, getting their voice and doing this? And so anyway.
Overscheduling is what you're thinking.
Yeah, you're right. That's the word. Mm-hmm, it's overscheduling. Sure. Yeah.
And that guilt is one of the things I talk about most just with mindfulness and emotions is the capacity we have to carry so many emotions at one time, but we're raised to just kind of pick one, and having gone through certain situations in my life, I would say 7 or 8 emotions I'm very validly trying to juggle and trying to convey them in a way I feel like is safe and kind. And so especially in parenting, carrying those emotions. And I feel like if we slow down and honor them, instead of trying to control them and try to stuff them and pretend like mom guilt shouldn't happen, if you look at the capacity you love your kids and your family, that guilt is going to be almost of equal weight sometimes. And so seeing that and honoring it and never shaming mom guilt, why would you shame? I feel bad because I love my kid to this capacity that X, Y, Z. So
that's actually a really healthy way to look at it.
Yeah, don't shove it and kind of embrace it, try to understand it, and then appropriately execute those feelings, which is sounds like you're an expert at helping us do.
So as a mom who I tend to, and I know this is common, I have this conversation with a lot of my friends, anger as a mom.
Oh, for sure.
So let's say you explode at your kids. Mm-hmm. How do you advise to handle that?
As quickly as you can, acknowledge it, sit down and look them in the eye, and even my ego is like, oh, wait, no. and tell them what you did was not the reaction that you wanted to have. I try to watch myself not to say it's wrong or bad because I don't want him to think that his outbursts make him wrong or bad. Oh. I think I say, and I've had plenty of this, I'm an Italian Taurus, so the rage runs deep. Yeah. Right? So I sit down and I look him in the eye and I tell him that is not how I wanted to react to you. I'm sorry that I XYZ. I own it. I'm sorry that I grabbed your arm rougher than I wanted to. I'm sorry I raised my voice. I will try to respond more mindfully. My ego and the way I was raised, that apology may come, but it's going to come with, well, I'm sorry I got mad, but you shouldn't have XYZ.
The but.
Yeah, but the but. And like that but is excusing my actions. I don't want him to, I don't want him to grow up to be a young man that excuses his actions. I want him to say, ooh, no matter what you did, this is not how I wanted to respond.
Or one that you don't want him to think he has to be perfect all the time. When you show that we're flawed, but we can be sorry, then you're teaching your child that they can mess up and that it's okay.
For sure. And to
That's
not
awesome.
And to not hold guilt. And my son is a very deeply feeling little boy, and
how old is he?
He's 4.
4.
Yep.
Okay.
And so he feels joy really big, and then he feels guilt really big. And I try to tell him, like, just move on. We all as adults carry so much guilt for something we said or did.
Oh, I know.
I mean, we can think of like summer camp, like you could be laying in the bed at 2 o'clock in the morning. You're like, oh, I feel really bad for what I did when I was 12.
That's when it happens in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
That is like a sign of high anxiety.
For sure. Or you think of some awkward thing you said in the 4th grade. Like, it's not the time for this.
Yeah.
But it also teaches us that those emotions will continue to cycle back through our body. And again, seeing them and honoring them to me is one of those ways to gain balance. The more we try to control stuff, for me, I spent years trying to eat and numb that. The more we see and honor them and talk about them openly, and especially like in the worlds of grief and anger and rage and, the dark side of us, as people like to say, the more we honor and really see that part of us, I think it can help us grow exponentially. And it's contagious in other people. Like the minute you're around people who can express all of those, it becomes easier for you to be like, oh yeah, you know what? Parenting does make me really angry. And like, that's okay.
I know. My girlfriend actually called me yesterday because, we just obviously got off of a very long Christmas break. And today is the first day I don't have a child since it's been 3 weeks. So anyway, but she's like, I just was crying so hard because I screamed at her son. She screamed at her son. She's like, he did not deserve it. She's like, I'm at my wit's end. It's been raining for, like 2 weeks straight up north. And I was like, it's okay. It's totally okay. But then I was thinking, like, that's what we need to talk about, because that's such a common feeling. It's just like that shame after, because they're just these like innocent little kids. And then you take all that on and you're like, I need to be better. I need to,
For sure. And that's, to be completely transparent, getting into mindfulness and what I do started with anger. For me, for my son, he was 6 weeks old. And I'm a primary parent to him and have been since the beginning. So I was more exhausted than I ever knew was possible.
Right.
And it was one of those nights. He's always been like a intermittent sleeper. And so it was one of those nights, 6 weeks old, he just kept waking up. And I woke up and I picked him up and what do you need? And it wasn't even all of the anger I had in me, right? It was like a little piece of it. And at 6, maybe 7 weeks old, his little body just flinched. And I, of course, boo! My next reaction was, oh my God, I'm so sorry. But it taught me a huge lesson. And still to this day, that flinching is what immediately will bring me back. If my son and I are in a voice raised, imbalanced argument, I don't even want to call it argument, a moment of like raised voices and imbalance, if he yells at me, I can deal with that. We can work that out. But if I say something to him and
it kills me.
Oh man. Aww. It just takes me right back to that moment, but it immediately brings me back to the present, to looking him in the eye, to apologize, to saying, I never want your body to respond like that to my voice. Showing him, because I do a lot of teaching about physical energy and where we feel the anger and what color the anger feels like to us. And all of these little things that really help us live inside our body and realize maybe when the anger is bubbling before we yell,
So what does that look like? Where does the where physically does it manifest?
It's different for everybody.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And that's my favorite part about working with kids. So I started working with mindfulness with my son before he could speak, and I know he was learning it and receiving it. But the youngest of kids can tell you where they feel emotions faster than just about any adult. They can say my hands, or some kids feel it in their heads, or stomp, some want to stomp their feet. And so really learning like how your child responds to that anger, how we respond to that anger is a huge step in parenting those big emotions. I ask my son almost every day, what color does your heart feel like? Oh. And so,
what does your heart feel like? I feel like yours is like pink and yellow, like white. Mine's like black.
Yeah. And so, Carrie Anderson will love that. So that's a running joke with Carrie Anderson, that if she gets into that space, it's not like, but it's different every day for him. And then I can follow up. Well, and he will get very creative. I'll never forget one time he said he was kind of tired, and I could tell he was feeling a little bit funky. And he said, it feels like the clouds before it rains.
Whoa.
And I was like,
okay,
I need to step up my answer. But it was so descriptive. And then I said, and what does that color mean to you? And that a lot of times will, if you ask somebody how they feel when they have 10 emotions, how do I pick? How do I tell you? How do I organize them to, to say that? And so if you like kind of have a pre-step, what color does your heart feel like? And then what does that color mean to you? It can kind of help us separate just answering.
Well, they can express themselves, when they're that little. Even my oldest son, when before he was 12, he was just crying.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, son, life was fine. I'm like, what is it? He could not express. And of course, I didn't know what I know now. Mm-hmm. I didn't learn all of this, and I didn't know this at all. He couldn't express it. So I just loved on him. Mm-hmm. I just hugged him and said, it's okay. But that makes so much sense because he couldn't express himself, and to put a color to it or put it at their level.
Mm-hmm. I do really like that.
Yeah.
It's huge.
And too, with crying, something I've learned through my own journey, this may be the first podcast I've never cried on, actually. Because if I can get through the story of him as a 6-7-week-old baby without crying, I think I'll be all right. But, learning that sometimes crying has nothing to do with sadness. It has nothing. Some people, that's just how their body releases energy. Yeah, frustration.
Or overwhelmed.
Yeah, exactly.
Anxiety.
Yeah, or my room is really dirty and I don't have the energy to clean it. Like,
or I'm really tired.
Yeah.
I did that the other day. My husband walked in, and again, we were home for an extended period of time. But he just looked at me and I was like, this house.
That's all you said?
Right.
I couldn't handle one more. Like, I was going from room to room, and it was just, I think I sent you a picture. Because I was like, hee, like maybe sending it with like a giggle, but I wasn't giggling.
Right. As you're sobbing. LOL.
That house. And it was just like, I felt super out of control and like super overwhelmed. And I just started crying, and my husband just kind of was like,
your house was closing in on you.
Right.
It was.
Absolutely.
It was like super closing in, and like all the toys were everywhere. And it was just, I was feeling that like anger was like really starting to come. And I was just like, okay, I'm done right now.
Yeah.
But is there any other questions like proactively you can ask your kids? Because that's just, I really like that, especially, I have little ones. But the color question is awesome.
Yeah. Another question that kids respond to really well is like, where in your body do you feel any extra energy right now? So I try,
but not like pain.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't have to, it can be butterflies in your stomach.
Okay.
It can be the need to go like this. It can be the need to shake out your hands. Again, I try not to use any bad, good talk around, because it's just all energy. Like, we're the ones that put the emotion in anger, right?
Right.
We might just feel, our brains might feel busy. So slowing down to ask a kid, like, where do you feel? That's one thing I love about meditation is when you slow down to sit down, you can feel much more. You can feel that your spine needs a little stretch. You can feel that you haven't taken a deep breath in days. Like, that's really where you can slow down and drop in.
Have you ever meditated?
I've tried.
I've tried too.
I've tried.
There's a, Glennon Doyle.
Yes.
Yeah. So she has a few different, she swears by meditation, but she has like a few different methods to get yourself there. And the one that works, it's so random. So I didn't make this up. You might know which one I'm talking about. Okay, so you like imagine the sun is coming into your head and out your butt. And she has just different ways, but that's the only one that has like stuck with me.
Absolutely.
But again, it doesn't end up working for me. I'm like,
I would need
in my
guided.
head, out my butt. And I'm like, speaking of butts, I need to order diapers. Speaking of diapers, I'm short on fruit and I need milk. And I need
and that's where a lot of people struggle with meditation.
It's so
a lot
hard.
of people, silent seated meditation is not productive for them, right? You sit there for 4 minutes until your to-do list is even longer than it was.
I can't do that.
So,
I've
Okay, so
tried.
maybe
Right.
that's the only idea of meditation I have. What are other?
So a lot of people, that is all of they think of is your typical cross leg,
Sun at
position
the
that's
head,
not a lot of
but generic,
out your butt.
Right. So like I teach meditation. I teach a music guided meditation that's mostly R&B, rap, reggae soundtrack, and we listen to it really loud to the point where you can feel the bass move through your body. Walking meditations through the park where your eyes are open and you're looking at things and you take time to think about all of the things that you see with no follow-up, no judgment, no like, I see a blue car. Oh, I had a blue car when I was younger, and our brains will naturally do that. So just coming straight back. Okay, what else do you see? Going through to your next sense. What is everything I hear right now? What is everything I smell right now? Driving is a huge meditation for me. And obviously I'm not zoning out to the point that I don't have control, but the windows down, just driving is a meditation. So
is the goal of meditation not to feel? Is it just, feel emotion? Is it to feel more like senses and like zone out?
I think it kind of depends for everybody.
Okay.
For some people, it may just be drop into my body to see what my body needs right now. For some people, it may be I need to sit and breathe deeply. Active breath work is another form of meditation that's a little more engaging than just silent seated meditation. But thinking about an emotion you need to breathe through. So really the goal of meditation is seeing what you need in this exact moment, slowing down to just be here. Because a lot of us rarely just slow down to be here without a phone in our face, without,
There's
all of
no
these
free
things.
thought when we're doing all that we're doing, but when you sit down and you meditate, and I've tried, guided meditation is better for me because when maybe I haven't done it long enough or tried hard enough. When I would sit down, I automatically started thinking of things I had to fix or what was wrong.
Sure.
So, which is not the point. The point is for free thought, right? That everything is just cast away and you be able to go into a place where you literally have free thought and not all the other noise, right?
Sure. Yep.
It's so hard to get there.
And a place... So a place free of thought is very, very advanced in meditating. A step before that is kind of no judgment in your thought. So every time I try silent seated meditation, I don't know where my eyeballs are supposed to be. And it will drive me crazy until I just stop.
So is it your eyes are closed?
Yeah, my eyes are closed, but I don't know if my eyeballs should be pointing forward or down. They just can't get comfortable. So, right? So then that's all my brain. Are they supposed to be like this, like this, like this? Like
And then
this?
you're like, one time in 6th grade, I remember looking out.
Right. And then I check my phone. I'm like, it's been 2 minutes.
Right.
So things like opening your eyes to stare at a candle or, a lot of people like a focused gaze instead of eyes closed. Again, listening to guided meditations can be big for some people.
How do you do the
many
guided
different kinds.
They're guiding you like the sun to the butt. But I did one, and
I can help everyone.
Yes, I need to know. The one I did was with another life coach. It was at a speaking event, and she talked about a warm purple color, and she would talk about it coming through your body from the head all the way through. So that was neat. And I kind of could feel it. But then again, I was like, squirrel,
For sure. Am I feeling it yet? Am I doing it? Do I see it?
Yeah.
Am I doing
Do I feel the warm? Is it warm?
Right.
You try too hard sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
yeah. And that's one of the most important things in mindfulness is just allowing and not judging. And another kind of more active brain, because I have an extremely active brain. As long as I've been into mindfulness, I've never gotten to a free of thought place. I thought I had, but then I woke up and realized I was just sleeping. So I was like, I think I did it. Oh, no, it's been 20 minutes. Let me wipe this drool off my face.
It sure feels good, though, didn't it?
It did, exactly. That was what my body needed at the time.
I just meditated last night for 6 hours.
Right, exactly.
I'm so proud.
Yep.
That's awesome.
And so that lack of judgment and just slowing down to be like, we're going to have these thoughts because we're parents and entrepreneurs and humans in a world that is filled with energy right now. And so, allowing is to me the most important part of that.
It's like, I think there was one thing I wrote for our mom's group, and I just said, it's so easy to say this stuff, and it's so hard to take it seriously, but the expectation of yourself, and like the way your kids look at you, it's just so different. They just don't match up. Like your kids don't have the expectations of you that you have for yourself. They look at you as a superhero half the time when you look at yourself as a failure or not good enough.
Yeah, they don't know all these things we're thinking
Absolutely
in here.
Not.
They're not aware of any of it. They just see as mom.
Yeah.
Amazing mom. They don't know all this.
Absolutely. And one of the
Mom's
things
crazy.
one of the things that really helps me to work through those feelings, again, because I've at this point in my journey given up trying to control them. I'm not going to try to make mom guilt not happen, because that just feels like too much to resist. Like it's going to happen, And
honestly, it could be like too that it's a sign that you are a good mom. Because
absolutely, because you care.
Because you care. Yeah. Embrace your mom guilt, guys.
Yeah, for sure. And then know when it's also time to set it down. And for me, it helps to realize how we've been conditioned to feel mom guilt, right? Like we've all been taught with this perfect mom, wife, business person, human being has we've all, like, that is deeply ingrained in us what that's supposed to be.
Yeah.
We're inundated with like ways to be a better parent, ways to blah, 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 ways to
be a sexy mom.
Right, exactly. Like since Cosmo, right? Ways to please
By
your
the
boyfriend.
way, thanks for the robe.
You're welcome.
My husband is about to burn that sucker. He's like, stop wearing the giant white robe.
Feels good.
Everywhere. Yes. Like, it's 12 p.m., you're in a white robe. It's 7 p.m., you're in your white robe.
You're welcome.
So speaking
You're
of
welcome,
sexy moms, yeah, you can thank Jennifer.
That's funny. That's so funny. This has been really awesome.
I agree.
So one more question then. Is there a, like, way that children can learn early? And I don't want to use the word meditate because that, like, I can't even meditate, but is there a way to start teaching kids positive steps towards?
Oh, absolutely.
What would you say?
Absolutely. For me, it's kind of about figuring out what is most beneficial. Like are your children more physical? Are they feelers? Do they need to stop and listen to the sounds outside? Do they need to step outside in the grass and just look around? Grounding bare feet in the grass can be huge for balancing emotions. Really slowing down. My son really responds to, like, find your heart. If he's having a moment of big feelings, find your heart, see what your heart ask your heart the choice your heart wants to make.
Wow.
Right? Like, our heart doesn't ever want to be mean. Our heart doesn't want to say mean things or break things. So, like, slowing down, and I find myself, since I taught him, I do it often. I'm like, all right, what do we want? Like, touch, like, reconnect somehow. Some kids need a hug, and that's a form of meditation for them. Some need to slow down and drink water. I teach it, before all of the quarantining, I taught a monthly family and community meditation at Nectar Community. And parents were always hesitant to bring their kids because my kid's wild, my kid's blah, blah, blah. Like, we all need to learn how to meditate in the middle of that. So don't ever worry about, like, You know, we have to learn how to meditate in the living room in the middle of
Chaos.
our children.
Yes.
Yeah. And if your meditation means to sit on the couch with a cup of coffee, take slow, mindful sips, feel the warmth go down your throat, then that's your personal moment of meditation. And like kids will find their own. A lot of kids, it's drawing. And so like in those moments, you can say, hey, do you need a pen and some paper? And they need to zone out. My son has always been, he wants to play in dirt or water.
Yep, dirt, boys.
Mine would get on the swing set and swing. And swing.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know.
And as an adult, like that's a feeling when you get back on a swing that takes you to that similar kind of place, you know, as long as you don't have the like age-induced vertigo though. You know, but yeah, swinging is huge for kids. Just being outside, putting their hands, taking a bath for some kids. So it's really
that is a huge one in our house.
Yeah.
That's what I do for. You usually tend to call me when it's bath time.
I call you at all the bad times, honestly.
You really do.
Because mine are grown, so I don't think about it.
Right.
Yeah. She's like, I hear water splashing. She's like, can I call you back?
But that is always like the calming moment in our house is but it reminds me, do you remember Dr. Heather Gill?
Yes.
Okay. So
yes.
we had Dr. Heather Gill on and she was amazing, but it just reminded me of when she said, there's something in your brain when you drink really cold water. And I just remembered that. I don't remember what it was, but it was like your body can't freak out at that moment that you're drinking something really cold. There's like a response, like some scuba response. Do you remember that?
So from what I understand about that, it's forcing your body to try to accommodate, try to make the water the temperature of your body. So that's all your body can focus on. It's kind of like I've seen recently on some TikToks, people talk about eating a really sour candy. And if they're in a moment of like severe anxious feelings or something like that, eating that sour, like all your body can do is all attention goes here. So similar thing.
Speaking of TikTok, we'll end on this, but I saw this lady and she said, you know, if you're constantly screaming at your kids, you know, they're not going to respond to that, which I was like, correct, I get it. And then she's like, so whisper instead. So the other day, all the boys were fighting in the back. And I'm thinking like, are you nuts? I can't be, hey guys. Like they wouldn't even hear me.
Stop it. Please. Stop it now.
Please stop.
So you get like progressively louder. You're like,
what the hell is this lady doing?
Right. Did you try it?
No, I didn't even want to because I was like, they're not going to listen. They're going to be like, look at her, she's lost it.
I mean, I've seen some elementary teachers. I do in class, in office, like not so much meditation, but more mindfulness instruction in schools. And I mean, these kids, I've seen a teacher get a kindergarten class together by going like this.
Oh.
And every kid was like, shoot. And I was like, how did you do
The day that works for me, guys, we're going to have a podcast just on that.
Right.
And everyone's going to hand me a trophy.
You know, it's funny. I don't know where you need to go, but when I was a teacher for years, I did kindergarten, and your voice they just get tired of it, and they'd rather do their own talking. So I would start doing these until then the other one would notice, and then another one would start, and then until they were all copying, and that's how I got them to start the morning instead of fussing or hearing this mouth all the time. So so that's neat.
One of the most odd parts of communication is that getting louder than somebody doesn't usually help them get quiet. We want that to be a reaction.
That's a good quote.
Yeah.
Oh, I do like that.
Yep, absolutely. And I teach my son, so I've kind of raised him to be, we're loud, we sing, we love the way we test drum sounds on everything. So it's also been important for me to be like, whoa, to teach him, my brain needs a quiet minute.
Yes.
My body is touched out. I love you, and I prefer not to hug right now.
Yes.
You know, like showing
like earlier when you
kids
said, do you want a hug? And I said, I don't.
And I love it. And that's why I always ask, you know, like I
frequently tell my husband, I'm like, I'm overtouched and my ears are bleeding.
Yeah. And so teaching kids that helps kids learn boundaries that we never learned, right? We learned like shrink yourself down to accommodate other people. Don't speak when, you know, like all of these little things were raised, but teaching kids these boundaries, like, hold on, I need them to know I don't want to be hugged right now.
Yep.
You know, this room is entirely too loud for me right now. I need to step out. like your best family gathering where there's no negative talk can be a lot for a brain, And so I've started to show my son how even really joyful moments like a birthday party, right? You get back in the car and your whole body's like this and you can still hear the party. And like I've started to show him that's still energy. It's not always where do we need to release anger, but it's where do we have excess energy that we need to relieve. Yeah. So every night before bed, I'm like, all right, how do you need to release your excess? Because you're getting on my nerves. It's time to lay down. How do you need to get this out? Because I'm about done.
Well, this has been so helpful.
It's been wonderful. I've enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I'm like constantly in the presence of really smart women. So you're way
Takes one to
smarter
know
than
one.
me.
It takes one to know one.
That's right. Like I said at the beginning, brilliance.
I know. Thank you again
Thank you.
for
Absolutely.
coming. We want to thank our sponsors real quick. We want to thank Nest Realty. We want to thank Parham, Archenhold, Blackacre Law, Bodyworks, Southern Girl Chic for dressing us. And if you know anyone who wants to move in this upcoming year, please let me know. And if you know anyone who needs a life coach, here she is. Anyone who needs a mindfulness coach, here she is. So thank you everybody for your support. And Jennifer
our
wants
new
to say
thing.
something.
Yes, we are adding a new fun addition to Moms on the Move. We are literally going to be on the move. Yes, we will
We're
be
going
visiting.
literal.
Yes, literally. We'll be visiting Greenville and surrounding businesses starting today. And so we want you to be on the lookout for us.
Yeah,
And
we want to promote local business.
And we're going to visit you and hopefully can feature you on our site,
Yes.
on our page.
Nice.
So be looking for us because we're going to try to stop in anywhere and everywhere starting today.
Nice. Is it okay if I share about my mindfulness
Yes,
group on Facebook?
you go ahead. That'd
Nice.
be great.
So I have a Facebook group called Not Your Mama's Mindfulness 2.0.
Oh, I love it.
It's really, really fun. A lot of what we talked about, the sun out the butt thing would be would be perfect for that environment. So yeah, anybody who wants, and y'all included, anybody that wants to come join just honest conversations about mindfulness, growth, parenting, all of that. It's a very real space. Like I said before, life is not a curated Lifetime movie. So
Exactly. Well, thank you again for coming.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody, and we look forward to seeing you next time.